today we're fixing road trip damage on that. As you know, on our road trip, I got a chip in the windshield and got a cracked headlight or turn signal bezel. I couldn't find the right epoxy to fix the turn signal, but I'm gonna buff out the headlights to show you an easy way to do that, and it's easier than you think, trust me. And we're gonna fix the windshield, and I'm gonna show you how $15 is better than what they charge now to fix cracks. So let's get to it. Starting off, there's multiple windshield repair kits to get. This was the only one I could find. I generally carry a couple of them in the semi truck because it's easier to fix a chip than try to get a windshield fixed on the road. And if it chips, that's one thing, but if it chips and it gets a little tiny hair in it, you got to fix it immediately. You know, as long as they're still about like that, you know, you can pretty much get it taken care of. But once it starts spreading, you got to do a whole windshield. And getting windshields fixed on the road is expensive. They want $40 to $50 a chip. Those slab windshields I got in the semi truck, I can buy them for about 60 bucks a piece. But on the Crown Vic, you know, it's a little more than that. But save yourself a little money, especially if Safety Light ain't gonna come out and do it on the insurance. And just get it fixed yourself. It takes a few minutes. So let's get started. We open up our kit. We have the applicator. This right here is put it over the and this is a plunger that goes in there. I'll show you on the instructions. And here's the resin. 4 things. So an important thing to do is read the directions, and it'll show you how to do it. But I'll go over them real quick. So the first thing I've done here is I've just outlined it. The first thing we want to do is clean this. You need that windshield spotless. So get your towels, get your glass cleaner, and clean that up real good. Wacha, wacha. This particular kit has an adhesive little donut. So what you want to do is peel the backing off this side and stick it right over the center of the hole. Remove the center out there so you can line it up. But if you can see it right there, it's right over the center of the crack. Don't push down too hard because you don't want this crack spreading. So you got to get that. And now we got to get the other part of it. This particular kit has this little thing which goes right over the green thing. So it'll just snap right on. Well, not snap, it sticks on. Just put it right over the top and line it up with the tab there. Yep. Not as close as I would have liked, but if you could actually see into the little nozzle, you could see the, you can't see that, but you can see the crack right straight in the middle, so we're good. This is where it gets a little weird and time consuming. Got the plunger, put the resin in, and you put the plunger in and you pull it out, let it sit for 8 minutes, and then after 8 minutes of locked in this position, you have to push it down and lock it in this position. So, and then let it set for a minimum of 20 minutes. So let's get this done and we'll see what happens with that. Never done this kind of one before, but usually the other two, and I'll talk about the different kinds I've seen, but this is kind of a new deal, so let's see how it works. Let's drop 3/4 of the tube of resin in here. I have no idea how much that is. So let's place the tube firmly in this. Pull out to here and lock it. So we'll let it sit like that for a few minutes. 8. There's definitely a little weirdness going on inside, so we'll just leave this here for now. And we'll catch it back in 8 minutes. While we're sitting for that, we'll get our other stuff ready for doing the headlights. If their video seems a little rushed today, it might be. I got to go back to work tomorrow. But everybody tries to make cleaning headlights this magical, all these neat little products, this, that, and the other. All you're doing is polishing them. But there's an art to the polish. And especially with plastic headlights these days, the last thing you really want to do is go ham on them and burn the lenses because they're plastic. But you can use a really soft cloth buffer. And what you really need is just a polish. A fine polish. It says green rouge, but there are all sorts of other polishes out there that will do the right thing. Basically what you're doing is a very, very light polish / sanding. So you need a product that's going to do that. And the rouge does it. I've polished a lot of headlights with that. But you got to be careful, because if you go too crazy with it, you will scratch them up because they are plastic. And if you go too crazy with the buffer, you'll burn them because, well, they're plastic. When you're doing that, a clean rag is preferred, and make sure that you follow the directions for mixing this stuff, because it does tend to settle if it sits a long time, and it clumps up in the handle. So let's put some on here and I'll show you how that works. Truthfully, you don't need a lot. You just need to rub some on and just give it a good coat, and then crank out your buffer. Truthfully, this isn't the right pad for this. I need more of a cloth fabric style rather than a wool, but it did clean it up a bit, and you're probably going to have to do this 1 or 2 times, but just take your time. Be careful. The swirl marks will come out, but if you sit there and try to go crazy on them, you'll burn them right into the lenses, and then you'll never get them out. So we get done that, we're going to do the other one, but let's check on the windshield. So now that 8 minutes has passed, it says to knock this out and push it down into that notch. So let's do that. I need 3 hands for this. Well, the instructions clearly said put it in the lower notch and let it sit for a few minutes, but it clearly wasn't having any of that. It's gone all the way down. So well, whatever. Let's go see what it looks like on the inside. Well, you really can't see it. I don't know if you can really see it, but the majority of the crack is gone. So let's let it sit for a few minutes, and we'll finish out these headlights. Probably have to do a couple of passes on each. So let me get them done, and when we're done with those, this should be ready. This says it's got to sit for a minimum of 20 minutes. So let's just let it have its way with itself and do the headlights. Now after pass 2, that's a whole lot better than it was, but there's still some residue right here that I'm gonna have to get off, but it is looking a whole lot better. So let me clean it up with some Windex and see what it looks like. After you've cleaned it off with some glass cleaner, spray it down with a little bit of this, like Meguiar's or Lucas or whatever, the slick mist, and just polish it up and give it a nice coating. And a good clean rag, and she'll come right out. And there you go. There's the old one, or new one. There's the old one. So let's clean up this one now. Now truthfully, you can do this by hand without a buffer. It's really easy. It just takes a little more time. Just get in there and just scrub, scrub, scrub. Make sure your rag is clean, and you'll have to go over it 2 or 3 times, but you want to make sure your rag is clean. That way you don't get any scratches in the plastic. I actually wanted to try a little blue magic on this side to see what happens. It's an aluminum polish, so I got a little on this rag, so let's see what happens there. This is the disadvantage of using your hands, is just a lot of this fogging just won't come up, which they're just deep scratches from road rash and things like that. That's why you have to use a little bit of an abrasive. So let's get this on here and get this off. So let me show you what happens when you do it wrong. This right here, truthfully, is the reason you use good polish and you get it sanded smooth, because this polish will dry into all these little cracks and you have to get it out. So that's where the cleaner comes in. So what we do now, we're going to get back on this. You pull this out and you slowly and carefully remove this. Yes. Supposed to use a razor blade. I couldn't find mine, but it just peels right off. And get this peeled off. You really don't want to be touching this with your hands, and as soon as I'm done here, I will immediately be going to wash my hands. Just put a little drop of resin on this and just lay it over the top and let it dry. So, yeah, I don't think you're supposed to be doing this, but I'm kind of rubbing it into the crack. So, once that sit, to go, I was fixing the windshield on my semi truck, and I had some resin on my hands. Didn't even think anything about it. Went in, used the restroom, and burned myself in a very intimate place. Imagine trying to have that conversation with your significant other. Yeah, sure you did. You don't want that conversation. Be straight, be forward, and always wash your hands. Truthfully, there's all sorts of different kits and whatnot to use. The important thing is to find one that you like and works for you, that's easy for you to use. This one looks easy, but it's a lot harder than the last kit I had. The last kit I had this whole frame and double suction cups and this little H ladder, and it suctioned on your window, and it was kind of odd and it seemed real convoluted, but the process was really straightforward once you got the apparatus set up. This right here, I don't like this one, but it's the only one I could find, and if it fixes the crack, it fixes the crack. I hope it does. Let's see what it looks like on the inside. Well, it fixed most of it. Like I said, this was not my favorite one to use, but we got it, and hopefully it holds for a while. At least it's not spider webbing, so that's a plus. So we got them all cleaned up, and truthfully, that one came out a little better than that one, but they're both off different cars. I believe that one's still the original one, and that one is a replacement that I found somewhere else. Now, as I remember it, I think they're both replacements. I'd have to look. That being said, eventually, though, you can clean them up for a while, but they'll keep hazing if they're pitted and they're old. Eventually, you are going to have to replace them. But I'll show you an easy way on these Crown Vics. You can just buy the lenses. At least I think you can, because the lenses, the top covers do come off. This broken headlight here, you can see, well, that clamp's missing here, but you can see it's all put together with a gasket. It's sealed and it's clamped, and with a little bit of a heat gun and some real extreme patience, this thing will come off and you can reuse it. That's why I haven't thrown this one out yet. It is junk, but I'm going to keep the cover because it's unbroken, and eventually I will use it. The bad thing about these kits is that they're just one-shot wonders. That's it. Once you got your one crack, you have to have multiple kits for multiple cracks. You can't reuse them, and that's the part I don't like about any of them. But for one crack, $15 and about an hour and a half worth of your time, and most of the time in that hour and a half is just waiting for things to cure. It's not a bad deal. You know, you just deal with it and save a little money that way. But we got the crack fixed, and we're gonna finish it up here in a minute. It has to sit out in direct sunlight for about 15-20 minutes, and once that sun will peel it off, and we'll wrap this thing up. We will somewhat carefully peel this off like it says and clean this with glass cleaner. Well, that's what it looks like from the inside, but it's not spiderweb, so I think we're probably actually going to be all right. I've had that happen before, and it hasn't been a bad thing. It's kind of weird. But we're going to have to get a razor blade out after that. So I found another little crack right here, so I just dropped some resin in, took that plastic piece and just rubbed it in. If that works, I'm going to think it was so much easier to do it that way. But like I said, I wasn't keen on this style, but maybe it'll work. Well, those are things you can do yourself. As you saw with the headlights, you don't need anything fancy. You just need a little abrasive compound, an electric buffer if you have one, but you can do it by hand. It just takes a little longer, a little more patience. With the electric buffer, I got about 3 minutes into each light. By hand, maybe 10. I mean, so, yeah. And with the windshield, I mean, that other crack's probably not going to work because I didn't do it right, but whatever, it's a cracked windshield. But we'll see. But the other cracked, I've actually had them fixed like that when they've still showed a little bit of a hair, but they've been just fine. So, yeah, I got maybe $20 into everything here. You can do it yourself. Take a little time, save a little money. We all need to these days. So, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next video. Well, that didn't work.